Coming in at 5'6", 150 pounds, he's the Marxist of the Midwest, the Communist Menace, live from the future, it's Jeff Van Boeven! That is, tag me in! Tag made! Right. Hello, Mraz. Yes, I call you guys Mraz. Yes, I know it rhymes with bras. No, I do mean it with all due respect, which, in the case of Mraz, is very little. I'm here to address you today, not because I have any particular wish to engage you in debate with your ideological beliefs, but rather, for at least some of you, your predilections towards men's rights are the result of an excessive amount of time spent on the seedier parts of Reddit and 4chan. It is my hope that after our little chat here today, you might see that there is a better method and avenue to address your concerns that don't require you to align with misguided sexism. First, a quick guide. This is a feminazi. Notice the fanatical hatred of the Jews, desire for Lebensraum, and really bad fashion sense. Seriously, brown just doesn't do her justice, and those swastikas are tacky. This is a feminist. Notice how she believes in the equality of all people and looks very much like any person you might see on the streets today, minus the fact that I can't draw. Okay, with that done, let's start with a look at postmodernism and its effects on identity construction, which is really at the heart of the men's rights movement. One of the chief tenets of postmodern thought is the variability of experience, granting legitimacy to each individual's perspective. However, deeper examination reveals that there are no grounding foundations to our perspectives and identities. They are, in fact, arbitrary constructs. What this means is that there are no foundational grounds for gender binaries or any cultural concepts of gender or biological sex. Ergo, men, women, other are all arbitrary terms. Now, patriarchy, commonly defined in theory as male domination, is a grounding but not quite foundational ideology which the ideological apparatuses of our own culture have promoted for centuries. Thus, the privilege accorded to males through its employ seemed natural due to its longevity. Feminism seeks to eliminate such privilege, as it is this privilege which keeps men and women from having equal treatment. Now, what does this mean for men? If we consider the loss of power accorded to middle and lower class identities through the rise of neoliberalism, globalism, and the economic recession, coupled with a clear exposure of the rise of minorities, we now have a black president. The result is the traditional power bases for the middle and lower class white males are quickly eroding. The most apparent reactionary group is the Tea Party, but less visual is the men's rights movement. Both of these movements are experiencing what theorists would call false consciousness. Rather than correctly identify their oppressors, they side with them, thinking themselves part of the powerful when they are, in fact, part of the marginalized. Thus, for the men's rights movements, they blame feminism for their marginalization rather than patriarchal capitalism. In essence, they think that, by returning to a more privileged state and conservative era, they will regain their power. They are not about addressing the issues, but rather sweeping them back under the metaphorical rug. This is where we get to the part where I want to invite you, yes, you, the men's right advocate, maybe the misguided one, you're probably a little young. Hopefully we can redeem you and make you into a better human being that is actually helping to address the concerns you have. I invite those who identify as Mraz to reconsider their positions here. Yes, many issues such as child custody are valid concerns, but it's not feminism or women that's the cause of your troubles, but rather traditional gender roles as patriarchy has promoted them. So let's take a journey from maternity leave to child custody. Maternity leave and an even greater lack of paternity leave, especially in the United States where it's, absolute crap. Maternity and paternity leave are dependent on a base assumption about gender roles. Women as childcare providers and men as financial providers. Thus, for families as a whole, depriving fathers of time with their child, but it entrenches ideas of which parent is the best for the child to be with. Women are often granted custody while men are compelled to pay child support. While I commend men who want to be an active part of their child's life and are willing to work to be part of that life, this dichotomy is based upon conservative ideas of parental roles, so patriarchy. Not only is patriarchy the problem here, but patriarchy is also damaging families and children. Now, if you look at the more liberal paternity and maternity leave systems in Europe, particularly those in Scandinavia where there is enforced paternity leave, fathers in particular are reporting much greater happiness because they are spending time with their children. And companies like it better too because the mother and father can start alternating weeks where they're out of work. So companies don't need to have a temporary hire, and it's much easier for them to work with people to get the work that needs to be done. Now, men's rights advocacy would only strengthen the ideologies promoting biased custody arrangements, not help to resolve them. Meanwhile, feminism, even if it focuses on patriarchy as a women's issue, is still working towards a more profitable resolution for both genders. And that brings me to one of the chief complaints about feminism, its focus on women. Despite being right there in the name, it's a rather petty claim, as of course a perspective created around exploring how women are treated in society is going to explore women's issues. Just like Marxism focuses on class issues and queer theory explores issues of sexuality, there really isn't much of a need for a dedicated men's studies field. Even though masculinity studies is a rising field in academia. The difference is masculinity studies is objectively and critically concerned with how patriarchy in our culture affects men, whereas men's rights advocacies want to defend male power, not work towards a resolution for the betterment of all. Quite frankly, I've never met a feminist who, if they have the time, wouldn't be willing to have a fruitful and respectful conversation about how men are affected by patriarchy. It is, after all, a real concern. The key is respect and critical engagement. Fighting the power, not reifying it. And now, to the promised naked women in giraffe sex.
Last to sing the glory of the gods from the future, they are trampling out the ignorance wherever it is found. They have loosed the knowledge of 100,000 books, their truth is marching on. They will see you in the future, they will see you in the future.